Hello and greetings, everyone. Um, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are. I'm very sorry that I have left you maybe a few minutes without on and off, as it seems. Internet seems really unstable, and I will turn the camera off for a moment and go to a place where I hopefully have somewhat a better internet connection. Usually it's good enough up here, but bear up with me for 2 or 3 minutes. I'll be there. Okay, here I am again. I hope here where I am now, the internet will be more stable than in my room. Um, I'm sorry for the inconvenience and greet all of those who just arrived. And I think the best is for the moment to just a little bit doing the meditation on breath. Just for a few minutes. Focusing the mind on the breath. Taking deep in breaths and deep, fully breathing out. And just a quick check up of the body. Quick but in peace and not in a hurry. So we're checking the belly, whether the belly is relaxed and you can breathe in and out unobstructed. Then check your chest. Is it fallen back? Or is it stretched out? Or is it just right? And then the shoulders, check first here in this part of the shoulders. In front of the shoulders. And open the front of the shoulders. And after opening, check the rest of the shoulders from above the shoulders and the back of the shoulders, or the shoulders from the back side. So just check whether that's all good, relaxed. Then continue to check your chin and all that while being upright and breathing in and out slowly. So okay. So I hope you are all well, and from wherever you are, Siddhartha Mishram, please do some Indian Buddhist people. He says, I would, but you have to invite them to the page. You have to tell them. I'm totally happy to talk to them. So today is the second part of our topic caring for dying people. Last week, you remember? Greetings to Ireland. This time again from Germany. I arrived well back in Germany. But we continue the topic that we have been talking about last week. We started with the topic caring for dying people. And that was requested for. So we started to talk about it last week and noticed after a while that we couldn't finish. There's still more to that, and I'm not sure whether we would finish today. We started with just a very brief meditation, but in the continuation of today's talk, we might not even do some meditation, although we decided that today it would be about contemplation and meditation on death, Maranasati or Marananusati. So, although we talk about it, we might not be ready to actually do some. Yes, Siddhartha, so you can ask questions later. Now we do have the topic of Marananusati, And if it's related to that, you can definitely ask many questions. But let me talk a little bit first. Okay, so here we go. Marananusati. We have already talked about last week how what kind of mindset do you need? How do you prepare yourself to be ready to accompany somebody on their last path, on when you accompany somebody while they are dying? So what I said, and I repeat that because it's important, I think that we do look at dying and death in a way that's not helpful and not appropriate. So in our lives, every single moment, we are approaching death. We're getting closer to death every single moment. So we can say that in the end, death is the conclusion of our life. And if there was no life, there wouldn't be death. If there is no death, there wouldn't be another life. And we look at it, that is something fearful, that is something scary, that is something that we want to avoid, and it is something that is off-putting, and we don't want to see it, we don't want to think about it, we don't want to talk about it. So, but in fact, this is what we should prepare for. I remembered that I had seen once, a couple of years back, I was visiting my mom, and there was a TV on, and she always watches animal documentaries. And there was a documentary about an Arctic butterfly. I didn't know that this would exist, but there are, in fact, in the Arctic summer, Arctic butterflies, or Greenland. I'm not too sure anymore, but a place where there's only a very brief period of summer, and all the vegetation, all the flora and fauna has adapted to that they only have maybe a month or so to live, and all the rest of the year it's just too cold. So this butterfly, when there is that month of flowering and blooming there, has a period of 14 years, if I remember correctly, being a larva. So it is a larva for 1 month, eats what it can, and the rest of the year, during the cold, it just hibernates and waits until next summer. Again, a month, it eats something, hibernates, and that for 14 years. And in the end, this butterfly has one life of being a butterfly after 14 years of being a larva. Or so So I was thinking every single moment, every single thing that we do should be or is actually taking us closer to our final destination. Each and every single being has their own way, has their own path to go. And but one thing is certain in the same way for all of us, whether we are a human or a larva or a cat or whatever. One thing is for sure, and that is certain, and that is death. That will come very sure to us. So there is nothing we can do to avoid it. Yet we still try. We always try to avoid it. But if you think of it properly, there's no way. There is no way that you can avoid it. So make your mind clear about it. Death is sure to come. And how we meet it, that is up to us. So whether we accompany somebody dying or we want to be prepared for our own death is a preparation, is what is required, is what we shall do. So when we think about the preparation for dying, Marananusati, I said, or Maranasati, is the contemplation or the meditation on death. We talked about how to deal with the fears, and we talked about a lot of things last week. So I don't want to repeat everything, but there are still many things that we can consider. So a contemplation, for example, would be that you can do sitting, or you can do that in meditation, or you can do that when you're sitting relaxed somewhere. And there are questions that you can ask yourself. And the first thing that you can think about is that this life, in every single moment, is so very uncertain. It is uncertain. We never know. We never know what will happen next. I just scrolled through Facebook a minute ago, and I saw that in, I think it was Berlin, somebody drove into people. Most probably it was an accident. These people who were hit by the car, they had no idea that they would be hit by a car. Those children who have been killed lately in the United States at their preschool, they didn't know whether that would happen. They didn't know. Otherwise, if they would have known, they wouldn't have gone. So life is totally uncertain. That is anicca. We do not know what will happen. It will change. It is by default, so to say, subject to change. It always changes, whether we like that or not. Doesn't care of it. Life doesn't care. One characteristic is anicca. So with this in mind, what then is certain? Is there any certainty? No, everything is uncertain except for death. That is certain. Death for sure will come. We can do whatever we want. We can try to deal with, there is this old fairy tale from somebody who was playing cards with death to avoid, or there in the Terry Pratchett books is death in a very, very humorous way written about. So, but however we look at it, it is certain. That is the only certainty that we have in life. So what we concluded last week is, so if that is so, we better be prepared, right? And some things, how to prepare ourselves, we discussed, but there is more. So we do not know when it comes, although it is certain, but there is still this great uncertainty when it comes, and that is fearful. That is scary. So we try to take measurements to avoid it and to find some certainty. We fear not only that death will come, we also fear the pain that comes with it. We fear the loss. We fear that people are suffering or that we will be suffering. And that is because we are attached. And the thing is, we are attached to things, whether they are good or bad. People can be even attached to things that are not as good. But for them, it is better than not knowing. So, what can we do in this uncertainty? We can, for sure, try to develop a spiritual practice, because that helps. A spiritual practice, we can learn to increase sila, parami, dana parami, all the paramis. In Mahayana Buddhism, there are, as far as I know, 6 paramis. We do in Theravada Buddhism work on 10 paramis that we want to develop. So this gives us a sense. When things are uncertain, we are looking for a sense. Why are we here? Buddha says that's not a valid question, but we're asking it. So we want to know, what is my purpose? I say, no point in asking for a purpose, but if you need one, becoming a better person, preparing for death, training the paramis that are purposes that you can use. So you remember that there is that sutta somewhere in the Samyutta Nikaya where the Buddha is visited by King Pasenadi, and King Pasenadi is asked by the Buddha, what would you do, king, when somebody from the north, somebody from the south, somebody from the east, and somebody from the west would come saying, king, there are mountains coming crushing in on you. And they take with them and crushing everything on their way, and they are coming towards you for sure. That is certain. So this, thinking of this, can give rise, right, the simile of the mountain. This gives rise to a sense of urgency. So with this sense of urgency, with knowing death will come for sure, we might even think, we might find some real urgency to become better people, to develop the paramis, to live by the Dhamma. That is what is recommended by the Buddha to King Pasenadi. In another sutta, in the Majjhima Nikaya, somebody comes to the Buddha and does not prepare, or is not meditating, is not practicing the Dhamma. And the Buddha is coming up with the simile of the messengers, heavenly messengers. I'm not too sure the name in English, but the divine, now I know, the divine messengers. So the divine messengers are old age, sickness, and death, at least. And these are messengers we all can see. It's all around us. And what we try to do is to look away. But what the Buddha recommends is to really look at those messengers, the divine messengers, and see them as what they are, a reminder that we too will die. And until then, we better practice. We better practice to be better people and to live by the Dhamma. To live by the Dhamma can be very different for each individual. There is no one living by the Dhamma. One would practice the paramis. Another one would try to practice a single parami. One would try to do the meditation on breath. One would try to do a Subha practice. And another one really does the Marananusati, what we are talking about today. So now, knowing it's inevitable, we are going to die, whether we like it or not. So ask yourself, what do I do? What is my way not to escape, but to live, actually. Thinking of death, thinking of dying can make you live to the fullest. Once you understand that each and every single moment is bringing you closer to death, and each and single moment is the time where you really live, then you might start practicing and might want to live by the Dhamma. So ask yourself, is there anyone who could escape death so far? Can very clearly answered with no. In this life, on this earth, no, nobody can. Not an ant, not a human, not even the devas. So, can I then? That's a question. No, we can't. That is, Melissa, not Laranani Sutta, but it's Marana Nusati or Marana Sati. Marana is the death. Maranasati. Maranasati. So, sit yourself back and contemplate that. There is no one, ever, not a single ant, not the wisest person, not even the Buddha, no one could escape death. So why am I making a fuss? Why do I still want to avoid death? Is there any point? What is it that I want to avoid? Why don't I like it? Why am I not preparing for it? Why don't I like it? Why do I want to escape it? Because there are fears, there are anxieties, and there are attachments. Okay, when there are attachments and fear, how can I overcome them? Attachment I can overcome by letting go. What about the fears? How can I overcome fear? I can overcome fears by letting go. I can overcome these things by developing an open heart and accepting the inevitable, accepting truth. What is the truth? Truth is, with every single moment, death comes closer. To live by the Dhamma, what would that be? What would that be for me? How would that be for me to live by the Dhamma? What do I need to practice to lose fears? What do I need to practice to lose attachments? That is not meditation. Not yet. I wouldn't call that meditation. I would call that contemplation. So this is contemplation on the death. And we are sitting in it. We have been born. So, no way out. There will be death in some way or another. And one question also that we can ask ourselves: how do I want to die? If I have to, then how? Would I want to die with anger in my mind? Would I want to die with greed in my mind or with delusion? If no, then one thing we should practice, as long as we have the possibility to get over these as far as possible. We shouldn't push ourselves too much, of course. We shall do whatever we can. But we shouldn't force ourselves to anything. So, we're born and we're going to die, as is every other being, as is our mother, our father, our family, friends. And when I think of it, I would want them to be happy, not because I die, but despite of, in spite of everything, in spite of losing something. So I would want that they are at peace, that they don't harbor any bad and evil thoughts about me. I would want that I have cleared everything that had to be cleared with them. So I need to care for these things as long as I live and as long as they are alive. So when I know I don't want anybody to be angry with me at the time of my death, I have to talk with people, to communicate and clear the path, and try to avoid further moments of anger, further situations where anger can arise in other people or within me. So that is one thing. If I have taken out of greed something, I would want to give that back, and avoid to make people angry, or have my greed or other people's greed stand in a way of my death, of my nice and comfortable death. So there are things that might seem important to us and that might pop up when we sit there and contemplate. So do this contemplation and find out what is important for you. That is not the same for everyone, although there might be very large parts very similar. But each individual has their own approach, and that must be so. So that is why I'm not giving a step-by-step guidance in the contemplation. So. Didn't we talk about that? I think it did last time. So the meditation, that was the contemplation part. And now we have a quarter of an hour to talk about the meditation part, and then maybe about some questions that have been there. So the meditation that we can do when we want to approach death peacefully. First, I would start by breathing in and out. And there are various kinds. And you can start them from one of the topics of, for example, the Satipatthana Sutta, the body contemplation, Kayanusati, the awareness of the body. This body is alive. Why? Because it has, for example, the elements: earth, water, warmth, heat, and air. Or because it consists of the 5 khandhas. And knowing that, we can do the reverse. We can go from this body In any position, it can happen that we die. And then we can also imagine, and that would be then a meditation on death. We can lay down or sit down comfortably and while breathing in and out, we focus on the earth element within our body. And this earth element, the Buddha said various times in the suttas, is only earth element. The internal and the external earth element is just earth element. And at the time of our death, the internal earth element is just earth element. We can't talk about being a body anymore. It's just earth element. It will decompose, or it will be burned to ashes. But still, there will be some parts earth element. We could from there go further to the decomposing process. That would be one way to meditate on death. It's a little bit difficult nowadays because we don't see dying people anymore. Maybe we see dying people, but we do never ever in the West meet a dead person, a decaying, a falling apart corpse. That is something that maybe in Asia you're able to see, but not in the West. So this is somewhat difficult to do. But we can also just acknowledge, yes, the earth element will just fall apart. Will just disintegrate. Then there's the water element. Our body consists, as I read, 90% of water. So there is that one moment when our tongue gets dry, the body dries out. One might feel thirsty. And then after death, it's very common. I heard that from a friend who was doing some duty with the cemeterians, and he told me that when the people die, the bodily fluids just come out of the body. Of course, in the moment of death, we might lose our urine and excrement. But then, body falls apart, And then there is the earth element and the water element. The bodily fluids just run out of the water, or out of the body. The warmth will leave the body, starting from the fingertips, from the feet. It starts normally from the feet, so the warmth just disappears. Because the blood does not circulate anymore to that far as the feet are or the hands are. And the wind element, of course, as long as we are alive, the wind element, we're breathing. Wind element is usually related to bodily movement. So our body is not moved anymore because the air is not getting into our body and out. It's just not there anymore. So we can go quite far in this meditation and imagine. It's more an imagination or a visualization of how it happens. As I said, today is not the day or time that we can do a guided meditation of Marananusati. But you can train already a little bit. If you want to care for dying people, you should be ready to die yourself. You should know and get a feeling for it. You know what I mean? But you can, as you live, not know. But you can get closer to the understanding by doing these things. So relax yourself, lay yourself down, or even in bed, you can do these visualizations. And you can try and learn to lose your fears. And you can learn to understand the mechanisms that generate the fear. And by that, you can lose those fears and lose those attachments. Of course, yes. There is one thing that I wanted to say. If you do these things at home and you feel you are getting into despair, or you are getting too afraid of it, or the greatest danger is to do it well, to do it good and advance, and learn to let go, but then fall into the trap of nihilism. So, and starting to becoming a nihilist. So that is a danger. And then you should do it with somebody, with the help of somebody. Then do not go ahead alone. Then continue practice the paramis, for example, and look at what sila can I practice more? How can I practice more dana parami? How can I practice sila parami? Those are the most important, but of course also kanti and upeka. So that is patience and endurance and truthfulness also. That is important. Truthfulness in case of us dying, truthfulness is crucial to know for sure we're dying. You need to be honest, I mean, somewhat. So, and one of the paramis is mentioned by Sud in the chat, metta. And that, yes, it does protect somewhat when you practice metta. When you practice real metta, if you say, may I be happy, may I be happy, may I be happy, may that person be happy, and don't have it in your heart, and you just repeat it, that can also, if you do it highly concentrated, lead to bliss. But that is not meditation on metta, and it wouldn't really protect you in the moment of death. But when you really practice metta, loving kindness, that is, you are protected by the love that you created. And it protects you in a way, in a sense, that when your heart is full of love, really, in that moment of death, there is no fear. There is no anger. So you have a good death, an easy death, when you practice metta. So it does not protect you from dying, but it does protect you from dying a death in despair. It protects you from dying with unwholesome evil thoughts, because thoughts of loving kindness are wholesome. And when those are the last thoughts that you have, you will end up in a wholesome direction. You will end up somewhere. That's not the end of the story. But I was just checking what if there are many other questions. Not too many. Ayya, could you share more about how upekkha should be practiced? Yes, I would love to. And maybe I'm not too sure whether we would be ready and finished so that we conclude with today's and last week's topic. Thank you for sharing that, Edward. Yes, that is when warmth goes out of the body, the energy that is also bringing light, is when that leaves, when that goes, suddenly there's such a dramatic change in the physical appearance. When there are just a second before death, it's full there. But then the warmth goes out, and it's as if it kind of falls in itself and becomes just matter, just material, a corpse. This is really striking, yes. So what do you guys think? Would we be done with talking about Marananusati and on death and dying? Then we would continue next week with UPK. So I'm always very happy when I'm getting a hint for a topic for next week's talk. So yes, since I'm not hearing any questions from there are questions, but I just didn't see them. Chev, Kevin, I'm from Germany, speaking from Germany. Fazi, in some suttas, namely as Egot states in Majjhima Nikaya number 135, it could be taken as if that would be so. But you know that if we are born in a low caste family as a female being in India, is not only the result of one life, that is, I don't know how many eons of life, and that seems to be a really rough place to be born at. But it's not only bad karma, it's karma. We do judge whether that's bad or not. But if you are born in a low caste family in India as a female and have by that, through that, gained an understanding of letting go, or an understanding of non-self, or if you have the possibility, for example, to really experience UPK, because if you don't develop UPK in that situation, you would just rage and kill somebody. So if you use that situation, low caste family, female, India, and live by the Dhamma, then you have gained a lot. And you can't say this is bad karma. Maybe a person who is born rich, but is an asshole, really, doesn't understand anything about life, doesn't understand anything about compassion or love or so, that is a poor person. So I would rather think maybe we judge too much And what counts is the outcome, is the development that we make towards enlightenment. And if we have taken a step closer towards enlightenment, that's a good life, whether we like it or not. Okay, that was it. So it might be a result of bad karma, but try not to judge. Don't be ever judgmental. It might be the best thing that could happen to somebody. Oh, what's here? Ah, we talked about that. And also, Upika. Okay, I think that we are done for today. And I wish you a very, very happy week. And hope to see you next week. And I wish you all the best. And make the most of every moment. Right? Bye.